Thanks, Count Corla. I think you took a very interesting tack in your contribution, Minister, roughly akin to sort of move along here now, there's nothing to see. And certainly from your point of view, would that were so. But I'm sorry, but I don't think that history is going to be so kind to you. Because we have a scenario now of a constant drip, which inevitably is going to lead to a situation where the dam is going to have to break. How many special debates are we going to have to sit through here on issues of Garda accountability? We've had the special debates on the O'Mahony report, on the Shattergate incident, dealing with the information that you shouldn't have had, irrelevant information in relation to Deputy Wallace and that you chose to use, to hear now information that you should have had about a potential security breach in GSOC that you didn't have. And all of these issues are absolutely linked, because you see, the problem isn't, as Deputy Collins attributed it, a tension between GSOC and a Garda Síochána. The real problem is the axis of power and the very unhealthy, close relationship that exists between you and the Garda Commissioner. And it's from that that the tone has been set, and everything else that has happened has followed that relationship. Because the question really that we should be asking is the present scandal a sign that things are getting better, or a sign that things are getting worse? Now, a year ago, nobody had ever heard of GSOC. Now the dogs on the streets know who they are. Their mission statement is a very good one. It's to provide and promote an efficient, fair and independent oversight of policing in Ireland, a necessity you would think in any country claiming to be a democracy and claiming to police by consent. Now, we have to see the latest media storm and indeed the government's reaction to it in the context of what has happened before now. And for a whole period of time now, GSOC have consistently highlighted the problems that they have had in being able to do their job because of a lack of Garda accountability. They took the unprecedented step in relation to the Kieran Boylan affair, a convicted drug dealer, the handler of whom I believe has been promoted to senior ranks inside the Gardaí. They made their points about that whole case. We had their press conference in relation to their annual report last year, where they outlined a whole range of issues. They talked about hundreds of minor disciplinary cases where there was an agreement that these cases should be dealt with within 12 weeks, that was rarely achieved. They talked about getting access to information, how the Gardaí don't operate the agreed protocols, how they put unnecessary barriers and then withhold information. And they asked you to change the legislation and to give them more access, and you didn't do it. There were some new protocols, but not what they asked for. Now, let's be very clear. There is a perception out there that you and the Commissioner work very, very closely, that you are in many ways hand in glove. And that to me is a very unsuitable relationship. You did indeed, of course, extend his term of office beyond which any previous Garda Commissioner has been granted. You backed him up in his dealings with the whistleblowers, and when Deputy Wallace tried to bring forward legislation that might have somebody else holding the Commissioner to account rather than just you, you obviously staunchly stood in the way of that. Now, as a consequence, we have a Commissioner who believes he owns the force, they're his members, and nobody else shall challenge them. And I have to say, your comments here today, and indeed other government people, really, I think it's a case of methinks ye do protest too much. You're kind of really falling over yourselves to tell us how great the leadership of Garda Síochána are and how they have nothing to answer in this case. I think against all backdrop of all of that, the question really isn't why did they not report what they thought was a security breach to you or to the Gardaí. The real question would be, why on earth would they, against the backdrop of everything else that they have been through? Now, I don't know why this information ended up in the public domain, but that's a body of work that you could do about sources inside on Garda Síochána leaking information to the media and so on. When we initially tried to bring the penalty points issue to light, and the subsequent, if you like, my own encounter with members of on Garda Síochána, where I was arrested and handcuffed, and the story was leaked within 24 hours to the media. As a result of some of those episodes, myself and a number of other deputies have been contacted, really the length and breadth of this country, from people who've been the victims of Garda malpractice. And many of those people had no time for GSOC. They felt that they were an organisation which whitewashed Garda malpractice, who operated as a fig leaf to cover up bad practice. And I wasn't sure myself, but I want to put on record that I have changed my view. I think this is an organisation that was set up with no teeth, but I think that the people who are at the helm of it have tried, and they have tried beyond anything I've seen in the name of public service. Who are these people who've been denigrated in the media and indeed by members of the Garda representative forces, which I'll deal with in a minute? Simon O'Brien, Assistant Chief Superintendent previously of the Garda Inspectorate, a pedigree of international character and repute in terms of dealing with issues of police accountability. Carmel Foley, Kieran Fitzgerald, these aren't sort of little upstarts. These are people who have an unrivalled record, and I am very happy that whatever decisions they took in the interests of discharging their functions, which I remind you is one of oversight of Garda Síochána. And now we have the organisations representing Gardaí in open conflict with the body charged with overseeing them. I don't know if you saw the comments of PJ Stone, who's on record today of telling us that GSOC have no regard, or that he's satisfied that no Gardaí were involved in any of the alleged surveillance. Now, I'm quite sure he'd be equally satisfied that there was none involved in the penalty points or in the Donegal instance and so on. How does he know when he hasn't been privy to any of the reports? You had the AGSI basically accusing GSOC of casting aspersions on the good character of the force and having no regard for the laws of the country. That's what they've said. Now, that's a crisis, Minister, and you're at the helm of it. The ASGI said there's a question mark over the ability of Simon O'Brien to carry on his position in terms of GSOC. That's the tone that's been set on this. I think the question mark, Minister, is over your tenure, it's over the tenure of the Garda Commissioner, and contrary to what you think, this story isn't going to move along because a lot of those questions and issues remain.